Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm Kimberli Costabile. Tonight we have an action-packed show. And usually on Inside Scoop, we try to highlight folks who do good in the community. And tonight we'll be speaking with folks from the Community Action Advisory Board, folks from Food for Others, which is a local nonprofit, and also folks from Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. And so we are tonight, at this particular first segment, I am speaking with Michele Menapace, who's the chair of the Community Action Advisory Board. Michele, hi. Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And now this is, you've been here about a year ago.
I was.
Cesar, and we're so glad that you're back again.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. And so August is an exciting month for you. The Community Action Advisory Board has a pet project. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the Community Action Advisory Board, let me give you a little background first. The Community Action Advisory Board is a mandated organization, locally mandated by the federal government. We monitor and select projects that are funded through federal community service block grants, which are distributed to for people who live in poverty in our community. And in the month of August, our group has decided to take on a volunteer project that is collecting food. We're doing a food drive that benefits one of those contractors, Food for Others. And we do it in the month of August because the need is very high with children being out of school. They're not getting breakfast and lunch in school. Notoriously, the summer months are low supplies for our local food banks. And so we decided to do it to help meet those needs and to fill their shelves.
Wow, and now you've been with the Community Action Advisory Board for 6 years?
Yes.
Wow, and what made you decide to join?
Well, I used to be with the County Council of PTAs, and as the Board of Supervisors requires, that group is supposed to have a representative on the CAAB, and we had not up until that point. And when I stepped down as council president, a colleague of mine said, I need you to talk to someone from the CAAB, and have not look back. It is one of the most rewarding things that I do in my life, of all the volunteer work that I do.
And this way you get to touch whole families in addition to students.
It is, yes.
And from what I understand, there is a lot, you gave me a little bit of a background, but CAAB was started a little bit in, you said LBJ's administration? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lyndon Johnson started the community service block grants as what he called the war on poverty. Sadly, the war on poverty still exists in our country 50 years later, and there is a lot of need here. People don't realize, in all the wealth that exists in Fairfax County, how many people live below the federal poverty level. And when you think about those numbers, just as an example, I'll give you an example. The federal poverty level for a family of 4 is just over $24,000. And anyone who lives here knows you can't afford to live in our county, even if you just want to rent a 1-bedroom apartment in our county. So being a family of 4, it is almost impossible, if not definitely impossible, to make ends meet. And so there are a lot of people living in poverty, roughly 1 in 16 county residents, 1 in 13 of people in poverty are children. And we try to administer and oversee programs that help in that through job training, through education, through supportive child care programs so that people can afford to go out and work, so that they are not relying on these sorts of programs, that they can afford to go out, earn their living, but still have their children cared for adequately. So those are the kinds of programs we do, but we also do emergency services like programs that Food for Others helps with.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of hidden faces of poverty, and it's not what we would normally expect. A lot of teachers' beginning salaries in different communities are $24,000 a year. When I was a reporter for Times Community Newspapers, I can say back in 1999, I was only making $18,000 a year. So I had to rent a room. I couldn't afford my own housing. And so a lot of the people that you see in high places are actually living below the level.
Right, and most of the people who receive assistance or benefit from the programs that the CAAB funds are the working poor. They are not sitting at home collecting checks. They are working full-time, some of them multiple jobs.
Right.
And especially when you think of their children. Children should not be harmed by what the community's economic abilities are, either in terms of the cost of living or under sequestration, the number of jobs that were eliminated here in Fairfax, and we're slowly coming back, but there are still too many children who are hungry every night.
Oh, yeah, and it's just, and I love to hear about how you supplement things, and it's just, again, the figures are amazing. 57,000 children are on the reduced lunch program.
Yes. So they get breakfast and lunch at school, and then in the summer months, when they don't have those regular meals, now there are summer feeding programs that go on, but you also have to get to one of those places. So if your parents can't get you there, what do you do? And the need still is very, very high, and so we do what we can with our particular food drive. We're a board of about 30 people who go out into their communities and collect non-perishable food. But one of the other things that we've been doing every year, this is the 4th year of our food drive, and every year we're expanding a little bit more into doing what we call gleaning at farmers markets. And we know, everybody knows about the farmers markets around the county. We go and pick up food that's left over. The farmers will donate it. We get it to Food for Others, and to just give you an example, this past weekend, over 1,000 pounds of food just from 4 of our markets, and by next week it'll be all gone. It gets distributed immediately, and it's nice knowing that people are getting fresh fruits and vegetables, they're getting fresh baked breads. So it is incredibly rewarding to see all of that food being distributed.
Yes, I imagine. And then you're saying this is only part of what the Community Action Advisory Board does.
Right. This is just one volunteer project that we take on, and actually these emergency type services, emergency food and so on, is just about 10% of the programs that we fund. The rationale being that you help someone with a better job, with a better paying job. You give them the means to go out and work, like with child care services and things like that. They become self-sufficient. And hopefully, our goal is to not have anyone need these kinds of services. But until that happens, the CAAB will be here and helping to extend those programs to help make that possible.
Yeah, and then you were telling me that there's something right now over the summer that you help. Well, when kids are going to school, you help them with this Powerpack program.
Right. That is the program that we fund through Food for Others. That is our grant, and Food for Others is the contractor. And basically what happens is they get food put together into bags to distribute to children to take home over the weekend. So they get 2 breakfasts and 2 lunches, and that way, which is the equivalent of what they would have gotten during the school week. And a lot of us volunteer and make sure those packs get delivered from Food for Others to the local schools.
And how can people, can they join the Community Action Advisory Board, or how can other people get involved with what you do?
Well, right now we're very excited that we're almost completely full. Almost all of our slots are full. We are a board that a tripartite board. A third of us are appointed by our supervisors. A third represent private sector, and a third are representative of the populations who receive, who benefit from the programs. So they are actually people living in poverty, or who work with groups who do.
Now, we had some figures up a little bit earlier, but we had some demographics about the county. So if that pops up again, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us about what makes our area unique?
Well, I think One of my greatest concerns is the invisibility of people living in poverty. Even residents who have been here for a long time have no idea the numbers of people who live in poverty, and it's easy to overlook them. It's also easy to overlook them because they may not be on your street corner panhandling or hoping for help, because we're doing much, much better as a county in addressing homelessness, but there still are over 1,000 people who are identified as homeless. And so one of the things that I want to make sure people are aware of is they are our neighbors. You don't know them, you may not realize they are, as you said earlier, and the need still exists, and I would encourage anyone to go to our website. The Community Action Advisory Board is part of the Fairfax County government website, and learn more about what's going on with poverty programs here.
We may have flashed that up on the screen, but what is your website again?
It is fairfaxcounty.gov/DHS/CAAB.
CAAB, okay. Good, and yeah, and that's all exciting. Now I can ask the personal questions.
Oh yeah.
So what made you decide to get into this line of work helping the community?
Well, I've been a volunteer for a long time, since I had my children 24 years ago. I started volunteering as a parent at school and through PTA. One of the things that I felt compelled to do in my role throughout PTA, my PTA career, was representing children who are often underrepresented. They can't advocate for themselves. And seeing the amount of poverty, I realized that their voice was even less represented than children in general. And that led me to the CAAB and the work that I do with them, and knowing that it impacts someone every single day is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, we're really proud of what you do, and we're just glad that you're here.
Oh, thank you. I have a lot of colleagues who feel the same way.
Yeah, and you're introducing us to John Golden. In our next segment, we'll be speaking with John. And so what made you choose John's organization, Food for Others? And we've got about a minute left, but you can.
Well, Food for Others has been a contractor with CSBG, Community Service Block Grant Funds, for a number of years. And knowing the need with food in the summer, the connection was there.
Great. Well, thank you for coming, and
My
I
pleasure.
hope to have you back again, and we'll hear from John Golden in the next segment. Thank you.
Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Why don't you just wash your car at home?
When I wash my car, everything runs down the street and down into the storm drains. With all the chemicals in the soaps and waxes, the last thing I want to do is poison my own drinking water. At least here, it's all contained and recycled on site. That's why I also take my car in for oil changes instead of doing it myself. I might take a chance on spilling stuff.
You know what the best part is?
What?
More time to kick back and watch the game.
How far would you go to protect the planet?
I want you to build an ark.
Here we go. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. Ow!
Maybe there's another way.
People, the flood is imminent!
Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Go to fightglobalwarming.com to find out what you and your community can do to reduce global warming pollution.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school. These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
you're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop. Today we're talking more about people that do good for others in Fairfax County. And I'm with John Golden, Development Director of Food for Others. John, thanks for coming.
Hi, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great. And now Michele spoke very warmly about you and your work with the Community Action Advisory Board. Tell me a little bit, how long have you been working with the Community Action Advisory Board as a partnership?
The partnership's a very long-standing partnership. Food for Others has been in operation for over 20 years. We're the very thing that I have to point out to you the most is our community partnerships. We have feel we have a responsibility being part of the community in fighting food insecurity, and we couldn't do that without the partnerships we have with other service providers. Basically, how we operate is as a safety net for people who are facing an emergency where they need supplemental food, or for the growing number of working poor that we see who are struggling to make ends meet and need supplement to what they are able to provide for their families.
And she spoke a little bit about the Powerpack program that you
Yes, Powerpack is one of our programs. That's a backpack program for school children, so for children who are in Fairfax County elementary schools, public schools, who are identified by social workers as being in need. This provides weekend food for them, and this food is donated, and the packs, there's a particular pack based on nutrition needs and things that children would like to eat, and that is portable and something that doesn't take a lot of preparation for them. And that gives them food on the weekend to supplement they may qualify for breakfast or lunch at school. So on the weekend there's a need, and that's something we can help out with. And those packs are, the food is donated, and we have a core group of volunteers who come in and put those together and help us distribute those.
And one of the, now you were saying that you have many, many, many other partnerships as well. Can you list some of the other folks you had partners with?
Well, one of the things we have, aside from our warehouse emergency food program, where people come in and they pick up, clients come in and pick up food at the warehouse based on their needs. We also have 17 neighborhood sites. So those are partnerships where they're strictly run by volunteers. So we reached out to many faith-based organizations and other organizations, and they'll come out and they'll pick up the food from the warehouse, and they'll go to, we have certain sites that are that operate weekly in the evening in low-income areas, and the food is distributed picked up by the volunteers. They transport it and they distribute it at these sites, and it's anybody who arrives and is in need. There's not a referral necessary or anything. It's it really meets a need of the community, especially for people who aren't able to come to our warehouse in the Merrifield area and come in and they can receive food, and that operates all week long.
Oh, and now you were saying August is a critical month for what you do, and so, why would the food supplies be low this time of year?
We see, I would think that a lot of times what we see is that there are certain times of the year where people are more in the giving spirit, which is great over the holidays and things like that. You have a lot of people wanting to get involved, and we're very fortunate we still have, the summer may be a slower time, but for us, we're always out there trying to meet the need. That never, really goes away. So we do have a really great core group of volunteers who are always helping us, who staff our front desk, who work in the warehouse. People are always being generous, making donations of food, doing food drives. And as I said, and as far as the community goes, we also will redistribute food to some of the smaller food pantries in the area.
And then you were saying that also because kids are not in school right now, they tend to be short on food. And why would that be again?
Well, I would say that during the school year, again, as I had referenced, a lot of children, about 20% of kids in the public school system qualify for free and reduced lunch and also breakfast programs. So when they're during the school year, they would be receiving that food all year during the school year, and then we would provide those through the P3 program. We talked about the backpack food, but you can imagine when school ends and that daytime food that they're normally receiving isn't there, then we're trying to help supplement that something that started this year that we have a new partnership with is Burke Pediatrics. We have an RX for Food program.
Wow.
And this is something the American Academy of Pediatrics saw the need out there with food insecurity, sweeping across the nation, and they came up with food security assessment tools for doctors, for pediatricians. And so when they are working with their clients in a way where they see there's a nutrition issue, they're actually writing a prescription, so to speak, and that serves as a referral for them to come to our organization and receive food. So that's a pilot program that we started specifically in the summer that's helping to meet the needs this summer.
That sounds very exciting. I mean, and so they would write their prescription, and then they would, how do they contact you? Or
they would come right to the warehouse in Merrifield, and they would give us a prescription, and that would help them to qualify for a certain level of programming and for food that they would receive. Because aside from that, we have our emergency program where people would come and they're referred normally through the Fairfax County Coordinated Services Planning or from another social service provider. They'd receive a referral, and then we'd provide emergency food that would cover about 3 to 5 days. And then there's also a USDA program where people based on income would qualify for monthly food distributions.
Monthly. So there's an awful lot that you're doing, and what else would you want to tell me that you haven't told me before? Let me think. There's a few other things. You were saying that, I think you were giving me some idea on how many people you serve. That's what's amazing.
It's a very high number. We've always seen that statistics don't go down; they just keep growing. We're, again, it's about meeting a need in the area, and that's our commitment. 90% of the food that we distribute is donated, which is pretty staggering, and we serve over an average of 1,800 families every week. And 60% of all of our work is performed by volunteers because we have very small paid staff. So without that volunteer commitment, we wouldn't be able to operate in the way that we do. One thing that's also that we have a focus on right now is healthier eating, providing healthy options for our clients, more fresh produce and things of that nature, and that's something we're always looking for. We have an AmeriCorps Vista volunteers assigned to us for a 1-year assignment, and her sole purpose is trying to work with farmers and others to generate fresh produce for us that we can give back to our clients. And we started our first community garden in Alexandria, and everything that is grown in the garden will be distributed to our clients as well. Because again, as having a responsibility to the community and our clients, we see that we have a responsibility to educate them on healthier eating and better nutrition, because we've seen the adverse health effects such as diabetes and obesity that can come from poor nutrition.
And now Michelle had been saying that the Community Action Advisory Board, that they are very hands-on, and that they even drive to farmers markets and gather things for you as well. So,
yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Again, without folks who are involved, without partnering in the community, partnering with the farmers, partnering with Michelle and her organization, other organizations like that, and without volunteers who will go to farmers markets and pick up produce and bring it back to the warehouse, whether it's on a weekend or any other time, and make that food available to clients, we wouldn't have that produce available to us.
And so if you could have a call for volunteers, I was wondering how many more volunteers would you need to make you happy?
I would think we have over 1,000 volunteers who are working with us, and like I said, 60% of everything that we do is done by volunteers. Right now, we definitely have a need. We always have a need for folks to help us. There's so many different things they can do, from large to small. We have we serve clients Monday through Friday, 9:30 to 5 days a week. And that's our front desk. Is all our services are provided by volunteers at the front desk, which is pretty amazing. It was amazing to me when I came to Food for Others to see something like that, all run by volunteers, and the knowledge base and the training for them and their commitment. Most of our volunteers, when you talk to them, and how long have you been here? They say 6 years, 8 years, 10 years. There's a very high level of commitment, but we always are looking for more folks to join us.
What are the age groups of volunteers? It sounds like you have quite
It really runs the gamut.
Mm-hmm.
I've had, recently I had a Girl Scout troop come in who had run an event at their school and brought in, they had all the proceeds donated to our organization and did a food drive and came to present that to us even at such a young age. It was amazing to see the commitment. We have kids who come who will give up birthday presents at their parties and specifically ask for donations to support the organization or to do food drives. We also have on the other side of the spectrum a large retiree group. People have worked professionally all their lives and bring all sorts of different skills to the table to help us. I know all the reporting that we do and a lot of different things is all done by volunteers. And again, if we didn't have their support and their knowledge, we wouldn't be able to be as successful as we are.
Are some of them 20, 30-hour-a-week volunteers, and some of them are once a month? How does that work?
Again, it runs the gamut. I see people who come in almost on a daily basis, 2 or 3 times a week, spending 2 or 3 hours, and some people might come in as part of their corporate group, and they may give us 3 or 4 hours working in the warehouse, helping us there. So it really runs the gamut for sure.
Do you have corporate match programs, like some corporations match monetarily?
Yep, we do. We definitely encourage workplace giving. We have a number of organizations who do that, and so we receive funds in that way as well. Yep.
And I hear some corporations will pay. Well, they'll pay for the time of their worker, and then they might match that.
Yes, that actually, recently I received a check from an organization that a volunteer put in 40 hours, and the check, they matched that at $1,000 just for that person's time to come in and help us. So not only do we receive the help, but they were also able to help us financially. So it is a great thing that's out there.
What was, as development director, what has been the most surprising thing that you've encountered? I would say on the good side, a pleasant surprise.
To me, it's really, again, all the support that I receive from volunteers and how committed people are to meeting the need that's out there. The way that Food for Others and volunteers and the staff treat our client population with dignity, with commitment, with respect. That's just one of the things that amazes me every day. I always say it's a privilege to be able to do what I do, to go to work every day to do this, to try to find ways, financial ways and other ways to support our operation as a nonprofit.
What's your website so that people can go there and volunteer?
The website is www.foodforothers.org. And we've actually, one of the things that we've been really working on is communications. So we actually have made some great updates to our website, so you should definitely check it out. There's all kinds of information on there for doing food drives and all about our services and our special events too.
Great. Well, you're going to come back in the next segment, and we hope to take people through what a typical food donation is like and the kind of superheroes we have here in Fairfax County.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to it.
Great.
So we'll see you back. We'll be right back, guys.
Guess what? I have some news for you. There's free food right there, junk food. You see that truck? Oh, jeez. It's a 2 Michelin star chef. All for free, ladies and gentlemen. All for free.
Here we have a panzanella with summer vegetables and pesto. Enjoy. How we doing?
Fantastic. So what do you got going on underneath that plate there?
This food is really about to be thrown away.
Yeah.
Bro? Is there something wrong with this food? Where did you get it from?
From farmers markets. They put aside the ugly vegetables and the ugly fruits.
Carrot top, soft avocados. It was all food that was going to be discarded.
Even the drink you had is made from like a little bruised peach. Did it taste a little bruised?
Great.
good.
The average person throws away 24 pounds of food a month.
That's a lot.
Isn't that a lot? Go visit SaveTheFood.com for more information. Thank you. Junk food time!
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
And we're back. Thank you for tuning in to Inside Scoop. And again, we're talking about people who do good here in Fairfax County. Food for Others is a local nonprofit that's been around for many, many years and is being helped out recently by the Community Action Advisory Board. And what we're talking about today is I'm talking with John Golden, the Development Director of Food for Others. And he will talk a little bit more about what it's like to be a donor and how you can donate and volunteer for Food for Others.
Because again, being part of the community, that's important. People can do things from what would seem the smallest thing to the largest thing. We have people all the time, all day long, coming and bringing donations of food to our warehouse in the Merrifield area. It may be individuals who've decided to donate to us, who've looked on the website where we have all the information on the types of food that we're looking for.
And
yes, exactly.
What is that
so
about?
Amp Your Good is some way you can definitely get involved. It's a virtual food drive. It's an initiative that we just joined. It's running right now. It's on our website. It's a way that you can go on and you can select different types of fresh produce that you'd like to donate to us, and you pay for it online, and we do receive that produce that you're ordering. So it's a great initiative that just started. Kind of goes along with, like I said, our commitment to providing healthy options to clients like fresh produce, and along with our community garden and things of that nature. And another thing that we have that's great to talk about is we have, for our clients coming in when they receive food, we have a choice program that was started last year. So it's actually set up in our warehouse like a small grocery store, and they walk through as a volunteer and they can make all their own choices of food based on a certain list, and there's lots of good fresh produce there as well. So I wanted to make sure we didn't miss that. But also, from a donor perspective, aside from donating financially, which we have many generous donors, of course, we welcome that. But again, people can do food drives in all kinds of ways at work. They can do it virtually. They can go to Amazon Smile. If you're an Amazon member, you can select Food for Others as your charity, and Amazon will donate a percentage to Food for Others. We also have a number of special events. I wanted to let people know we're having a 5K race, September 9th.
Okay.
September 9th, everybody loves the 5K. Tyson's, it's the Tyson's 5K. It's September 9th. And it's a Saturday after Labor Day, and it's at 8 in the morning. And again, you can go to our website, we're doing it in conjunction with the Tyson's Partnership, which has been really generous in helping us with it. And you can come and run and have a good time, but also give back to the community at the same time. And that's another way people get involved, is through special events. So we love that too. So we try to keep it where there's lots of different options where people can be creative in the ways that they like to give back and be a part of what we're trying to do.
We sent a team to your warehouse recently, and I wanted to show a little bit about what it was like inside. But there's the Food for Others Tyson's 5K.
That's
there's
the one.
A little bit about. Now, is that a previous year there?
Yes, that's a picture from last year, I believe. Yep, absolutely, at the starting line.
So how many people turned out for that?
Last year we had about 500 participants in a race. So we're hoping for the same this year. And we've had a lot of generous sponsors step up to the plate who are supporting the race, so that's been great for us.
And what's the route within Tyson's typically?
It's right around in the Tyson's Galleria area. There's a whole route that is around Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom's, and you can go to our website, and when you look at the 5K, our partner PR Racing has the map, and you can link to that. You can look exactly at the race map. We were actually talking about that today, so it's a good route. People like it.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. How fast?
It's great fun.
How fast do they typically make it through the 5K?
I don't know. That's a good question. As fast as I'm sure we'll have some big winners, faster than I will. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think I'd be walking, but
yeah,
but
I won't be winning it.
Yeah, but I'd be there. So
Yeah.
so that's good, and it's good that you're doing that in a little bit of the cooler part of the year.
Yeah, hopefully.
So.
We always hopefully that things will cool off for us for that.
Yeah. And they close down the streets for that.
Yeah, right around that area they do in the morning. We start at 8 and everything is
and where's this garden,
by 10 o'clock.
by the way?
So this is, I talked about our community garden. This is at Peace Lutheran Church in Alexandria. So they gave us the land space on their land to build the garden, and it was all planted by volunteers. It's being maintained by volunteers, harvested by volunteers. It's been a really great success. We've had a lot of support around it, so I'm really excited about that.
And what is this photo?
This is a photo from Empty Bowls, which is a large fundraiser that is actually fully coordinated by the Giving Circle of Hope, and there's been a lot of talk about giving circles now that people do as a way to get involved in their community and assist nonprofits, and this is something we've done for about 10 years now. And they basically, the reason it's called Empty Bowls is that people come and there's all these artists that create this great pottery, and people get a bowl and they get something to eat and they get to learn about the issues that we're facing in Fairfax County with food insecurity, because a lot of times people don't really realize that although we live in a really wealthy area, that there is really a need out there and that people are struggling. And what I always say is it's difficult for folks to work in an area that they can't afford to live in. I think that's difficult, and that's something that we're battling. So.
And it sounds like you're doing some creative ways to reach out. What is this right here? It looks like
that's golf, and we also, one of our other special events, we have a golf tournament in May, and then we had that this year at the Springfield Country Club. And it was a great day of golf. The weather held. It was looking a little dicey that day, but we actually did well. And again, we had a lot of generous sponsors, and the country club was great to us. And it's something, special events really are a great thing to help us contribute to our budget every year and manage to operate.
And that was in Springfield?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, it was.
Great.
Yep.
And when will your next golf outing be?
That would probably be, that's a good question, because we haven't set the date, but it would be next May, my expectation.
All right, so I'm going to tell everyone to put that on your calendar.
Absolutely.
So
come out for golf.
Yeah, and then now someone that just, let's say they have an overabundance in their garden, how do they bring that to you?
They can come right to the warehouse. They come up to, we have a parking lot that's kind of known for all of our chaos. There's always a lot of activity, which is great, and people can pull right up, and we have some volunteers and some really incredibly great staff members who work in the warehouse. They work incredibly hard. They'll take the donations in, they get weighed, they'll give you a receipt. It's definitely welcome. If you have any questions, you can always call us and ask before you come.
And what are these kids here in this photo?
That's just another example I had talked about, and even the youngest among us can help out, and it's amazing. Like I said, we have groups of kids who will come in and they'll tour the warehouse, and they ask me questions, and I'm really amazed at just how aware they are and how committed they are to being part of their community and helping someone besides themselves. So it's really really nice to see.
And this is what you spoke about before, your RX for food.
Yep, that's RX for food. That's running this summer.
Yeah, so it looks like healthy choices there.
Absolutely, that's what we're trying to go for. So we're also actually starting a program too with Virginia Cooperative Extension, where we're going to be providing nutrition classes free to our clients to help them learn how to prepare some of these healthier options.
And that's something that not all of us know, and we could learn.
I definitely don't. I could definitely use a class or two myself.
So people learn a lot by working with you.
Yeah.
And if someone is donating, you look for produce and you look for non-perishables.
Non-perishables, yeah.
And is there anything you don't take? That's the best way to put it.
I wouldn't say don't. It's there are the things that we get. Sometimes we can't use cleaning products, things that people would think would be an asset. Sometimes we have to be careful about taking, or we wouldn't be able to distribute a lot of things like, for instance, milk would be difficult because it has to be kept cold, and we have limited cold storage, and it also has an expiration, so there's a time frame. But a lot of times people will call and we'll do everything we can to distribute maybe to a smaller food pantry in need. So we're always, again, partnering the community to, you know, if somebody has a donation, we'll find a way to make it work.
Looks like we have our phone number there for phone-in questions, 571-749-1142. So if you have any questions for my guest tonight, give us a jingle. We'll pick it up in the studio. But it's only tonight and during our live show. We hope to hear any questions.
Hopefully they won't ask really hard questions.
Yeah. So, so I think that there's just an awful lot to do, and it sounds like they are excited to work with you for this upcoming food drive. And what are you planning as a development director? What's your strategy for
My
getting?
strategy?
Yeah.
Well, I think the most important thing is always getting our message out there the best way we can, because believe it, there are still, you know, even just coming and doing this, it's like letting people know that we're there, the need that we're trying to meet, the ways that they can get involved, the ways that they can help. We're really putting a push right now on our social media, really something that hadn't been focused on before, and we're really getting out there and being on Facebook and Twitter and trying to really connect with people in all ways. And that's part of improving our website and our outreach overall. So that's really my goal, is to really always be getting our message out there.
And what are some great locations to pick up food?
We have, if you go on our website, we have all, like I said, in our neighborhood sites. We have, they're all, like I said, Monday through Friday, every evening there's a schedule of sites that we go to in more low-income areas where there's a need and people can come out and they're aware that we're there. And I've gone to some of these sites, and it's really amazing how the volunteers bring the food, and people are able to pick up what they need, and there's, again, no referrals, no questions, so it's all over Fairfax County.
So they find it on the website, and then if they have a social worker, that's how they find it out, or through the Food RX.
There's a lot of different ways. Like, again, we're always trying to get the word out. They go to our website. If they talk to Coordinated Services Planning, and you know, it's staffed. It's a call center staffed by social workers where they're trained to help them identify the needs they have. Like food insecurity, and give them the resources. And that's, like I said, we're always just trying to help people to find out where the resources are, because people don't always know what's out there, or they think that because they have a job and they're working that they don't qualify, even though they're struggling, and that's not true. So they definitely would qualify.
Okay, well, we have about a minute left or less, but I just wanted to get with you and just see if there's anything else you wanted to tell our audience.
The best thing I can say is get involved. You know, if you want to be part of the community, if it's not with us, with anyone, I always encourage people to volunteer, to really understand that there's folks out there that need your help, that you can get involved in all these different ways. You can come to special events, you can donate food, you can donate financially. There's always a way to do something, not only to support us, but to support your community and other organizations like ours.
Great, and tell your business or faith-based organization to partner. He's always looking for more partners. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again sometime.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Jobs. No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework. He hates homework. I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
1 in 5 children struggle with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to understood.org.
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside. The box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
Most party fouls? Not a big deal. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
And we're back at Inside Scoop, where we like to highlight people who do good in the community. So this segment, I am talking to folks about Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. And Mount Pleasant has a long, long history of service to the community. So it's not just a church, but has been a community center for almost 150 years. They just celebrated their anniversary, and we'll officially celebrate the anniversary September 7th. So while August is a big month for food drives, September is a month that we like to talk about Mount Pleasant. And here with me I have Julie Washington, the historian from Mount Pleasant. Julie, thank you for coming and,
you're
and
quite
being
welcome.
with us again.
Thank you for having us
Yes,
to represent Mount Pleasant.
Thank you. Oh, and like I say, Mount Pleasant is so much more than a church. And the more I look into it, the more it's like peeling the layers of an onion.
Yes.
And they started out in a land grant situation, I believe, but the mission was to have a school and a church. So they provided education and support in the community when folks were recently freed in 1867.
Well, yes.
So
the church was deeded September the 7th, 1867, by Eliza and his wife, Mr. Brown. A couple, the Browns. So it was deeded then, and they felt that the people that had just been freed, they had gained their freedom, and they felt that they needed a place to worship, as well as to school, as well as a burial ground. And of course, right in back of our church is a cemetery, which we will be having a tour of the end of August. So the month of August is going to be quite busy at our church. On Thursdays and Sunday, we will be having services. Thursday evening services will start at 7 o'clock. And during that time period, we will be having moments of history for Mount Pleasant.
History moments.
Yes. And some of those will start off with some of the worship, the missions that we've had. We'll start out with some of the educational programs that we have there. We'll do some of the communities. As you know, we have the Lincolnia community as well as the Mount Pleasant community. And then, of course, we can't forget about Bailey's Crossroads community in that particular area as well. And then we're going on to our baptismal sites. The church, before it baptized people, and before they really had a church to baptize people in, they would block up some of the streams around the Lincolnia area, and that's where they would baptize people in the creeks.
In the actual creek, that's right.
Yes, in the creeks. And then some were even baptized down in the Bailey's Crossroads area. They would dam up the little creek and they'd take them down there to be baptized. And then finally, they did have one in the current building as well, in the basement. But the first one was basically up in the choir loft, which you had a chance to see on Saturday. You know, during the dedication.
Yes, and in fact, we have a video of the dedication, if you don't mind.
Okay,
so, and I think it's available here, but we would love to show it to you. It's actually a Fairfax County historic marker was dedicated this Saturday, so let's go to that.
Sign down for us. Amen.
1, 2, 3.
So, Mount Pleasant Baptist Church.
This was a fantastic event. Not only that,
Mrs. Hunter, it's really good to meet you. Thank you for having us here with us today. Thank you. So, thank you for coming. And now, there's a big anniversary. It's a historic church, but it's Mount Pleasant Baptist. And it's 175 years? Yeah. 150 years old. Yeah, and the county is 275 years old, so very long, long time. You're one of the older historians at the church, so how old are you?
I'm 102.
How long have you been going to Mount Pleasant Baptist Church?
Well, I joined them when I was 16 years old.
Think about history. Let me give some honor to Sister Lockett.
Amen. What did it feel like when your brother was preaching? What did it feel like to be the sister and hear him preach?
Oh, Lord, he'd preach, and he'd preach, you'd feel the Spirit all right. And don't be telling him no story, because he'd tell you. But if you tell him, I couldn't say it out the story now, because he said, Sister, I know you said it. So you had to tell him the truth now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to tell
and
him
me to love the sister, what is her name, Bessie Summers. She was one of the Holy Ghost women. She would sing and pray and may have to preach, and she would preach, shepherd, and she would get happy and you know, do that holy dance like you say, no.
Yes, and so what we have there is the sister of Reverend Shepherd, if I'm...
Reverend Milton Shepherd, yes. He was a fantastic preacher. He was a great civic leader for Fairfax County. He helped to integrate the schools of Fairfax County with his work. He gave the African American community that boost that they needed to delve on to make changes in the county, because it was in great need to have that done. And he was very instrumental with that, along with other members of our church that helped to do that. Some of the members at that time were the first ones to integrate Jeb Stuart High School, for which now I guess the county is going to be changing the name. But that was a very important thing for the people of that particular era to do, you know, to make sure that some of that segregation would stop and integration would start.
And do you recall how he facilitated the integration efforts?
Well, basically, he made us think back about voting.
Okay.
That people have died because they didn't have that privilege to vote. But he was quite aware of that. And then also, he would make sure that we went to the county, stayed on the county committees to make sure that this would all take place. Him and J. Sidney Holland, Colonel Charles Robinson, who was in charge of the Civic Association at Bailey's Crossroads, other members of our church that went on to help do that. I mean, our church has a vast history of people helping out others. Right. As well as coming along.
What I heard Saturday was there were lots of ways that the church encouraged kids to go out for internships. So they interned on the state level, and they interned with the state delegates, and they interned with the county as well.
Right.
So it was nice to see at Saturday's dedication, there was a long service before the unveiling, but I loved it because it filled me in on some gaps I had in the history.
There was a lot of gaps that were filled in, and we will be having a tour of the cemetery. I believe it's the 27th of. It's going to be a Sunday morning at 8:30 in the morning to look at some of the grave sites and see that some of the ex-slaves were buried there, people that had been slaves and brought out of that slavery. And the cemetery still, it's people need to know what the history is of places, and sometimes even though we don't think of a cemetery as being history, but it is because the people are there. But we will go on with that, and then we'll have the women. Women are so vital to churches, but we don't say enough about them. I think with doing the history, I've tried to get people to put down the ladies' maiden names, which people tend to forget. They get married, they don't think about, okay, what was her maiden name beforehand. So
I was confused with Mrs. Hunter. I didn't know who Mrs. Hunter was related to and so forth.
Yes,
so
that's very important, like Mrs. Lockett. Now, you wouldn't know that was Reverend Shepherd's sister.
Exactly.
You know, and there's so many families that are related up in that particular area, because if you have to think of it, the African American community wasn't that large at the time. So, and some had children and some did not have children, so that makes a difference. But we're going to have a program with the pillars of women at Mount Pleasant as well as the men at Mount Pleasant, those women that maybe the first ordained preacher, female preacher at Mount Pleasant. So that'll be going on during the month of August, so we'll get all of that in.
And there's going to be Howard University choirs going to come?
That's going to be, I believe, at the banquet when we have that. And that's going to be at the, they've changed the name of that hotel so many times, but it's right there off of Seminary Road.
There's a long list of events. Some of them are free to the public and some there's a little bit of a charge, but you can find them on your website, which is?
mountpleasant.com, and Alex, just make sure you go to the Alexandria Mount Pleasant, because there is another one.
Yes.
Quite a few Mount Pleasants around
Google
the area.
Google Alexandria.
Yes.
And, but it's mtpleasant.com.
Yes, mtpleasant. Yes, so we can find that. But we'll have a lot of moments in history that goes on, and people, and I think with Saturday's program, with doing that, it showed how much we were involved in the community, because even Pastor Baltimore, the church, the new facility that we have, which is not new, basically we had our walk-in ceremony 40 years today. Can you believe that?
Yes.
It'll be 40 years. So we had that walk-in on the 7th of August.
So the round sanctuary is from 40 years ago.
Yes, 40 years.
But then we sat in the smaller sanctuary, which was
smaller
from
sanctuary, which was at one point
1938?
a hewn log cabin. Then it was a wooden church. Then they removed the wooden church and built the brick church. And then later on, the brick church was expanded to include the choir loft. So yeah, it's been a lot of transition, and most of the ministers that we've had that had the building of. We've tried to make that so most of the buildings are debt-free within a short period of time, because they didn't believe in having a lot of debt associated with the church.
Yes, and again, there's just so much they've done in terms of helping to provide social services and education in the area as well.
Correct.
But and there's a little bit. I hope to do a longer episode. It might be a special. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth in that special at another time.
Okay.
But it was just wonderful to see Delegate Watts there and Supervisor Gross and a whole bunch of people talk about the things that you guys have done. So I'm hoping to show that in a longer segment. And again, thank you for sharing. And everybody come see Mount Pleasant.
Come and visit us.
150 years.
10 o'clock services for the next month, and plus 2 Sundays in September.
Thank you.
Thank you.